No. She's not a medical doctor, but she can sure cure your tax problems or your financial woes. She's the how-to girl. It's the Dr. Friday Show. If you have a question for Dr. Friday, call her now. 737-WWTN. That's 737-9986. So here's your host, financial counselor and tax consultant, Dr. Friday.
All right, I am Dr. Friday here live. It's a wonderful Saturday, October 3rd, and I have a wonderful guest with us. But if you want to join the show today, you can at 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. You guys have heard this gentleman's name on my show before and his voice. We have Nathan Wright, who is a specialist in insurance, especially specializing with people on Medicare. Hey, Nathan, can you hear me?
Hey, Dr. Friday, I can hear you.
I love it when technology actually works. I'm sure the guy in the studio is excited about that too. All right. So today we're going to cover a couple different things. Are we getting to a point or a time where people should be looking at the types of insurance that they have? I know there's certain times of the years that's more important than others.
You're exactly right. So October 15th through December 7th is what we call Medicare open enrollment. And actually right now through the 14th, it's called the pre-shopping season.
It's kind of like Christmas. You know, we have Black Friday, a little pre-shopping, and then rolls around. Eventually we have Christmas. So, you know, that makes life easy. Okay. So what does someone that is on Medicare, I mean, I'm just thinking, hey, I've got Medicare. It covers everything. Maybe not.
It definitely does not cover everything. So in general, you've got deductibles, you've got, you've got expenses that is not going to be covered with Medicare, especially like vision, dental, and hearing. That is something that is actually not covered by Medicare.
Wow. So so I think we're talking about Part B is probably standard Medicare. Is that correct? And I'm not an expert at all.
So Part B is actually the doctor portion of Medicare, and Part A is going to be your hospital portion of Medicare.
All right. So everyone gets standard, Part A then? Or no?
So what happens is when you first get onto Medicare, you're going to get Part A. And then Part B, they actually automatically sign you up for Part B unless you opt out of Part B.
Right. Which may or may not, most of us wouldn't even know if we should or shouldn't. So so if somebody is on Medicare right now, we're getting ready to go into what you call the open enrollment. So they'll be really wanting to revisit the vision, the dental, those kinds. Is that something they can control and still have their Part A for doctors? I mean, each one of these pots are individual?
Well, so basically, Medicare does not, Part A or Part B does not cover the vision, dental, and hearing. So these things called Medicare Advantage plans, that many of those have those built in that you can get in addition to Medicare, a lot of times at a zero premium.
Wow. Now you're talking my language. That sounds like a great deal if it's possible for some people.
Absolutely.
So where would I start? If I'm thinking, okay, you know what? I need to know if I've got the right insurance. As we all know, one of the largest expenses in going into retirement, I recently talked to my retirement guy, and he's like, well, you need to prepare for, your medical costs, your possible hospitalization, et cetera, et cetera. And I, of course, pulled out saying, hey, I'm going to have Medicare. And he's like, yeah, that maybe not be all the money you're going to need there. So what would someone want to start looking at comparing? What kind of comparisons are available or go from there?
Well, this is some good news. So this year with everything's been happening, we've got some fabulous technology out there. We've actually got on our website at Medi65.com a tool that actually you can go in and you can compare companies. So when you're looking at a Medicare Advantage plan, the two most important things that you want to look at is your doctors and also your prescriptions. You can plug all that in there, and then it'll kind of give you the top three companies that will tell you, hey, this may be an option for me.
Right. Because I mean, most of the time you just, I guess I didn't think about people actually shopping around like we do with, um, after tax medical problems, Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever people have,
Right.
they don't have that advantage. But so this Medi65.com obviously is giving them some tools that would give them the ability, because one person may have no prescriptions, another person may have a ton, some may have pre-existing, some may be fortunate enough not to have a lot that they're having to
Right.
deal with. So I'm assuming that makes a huge difference in cost as well as availabilities.
Yes, it definitely can. And then good thing is on Medicare Advantage plan, pre-existing doesn't matter. There's only one thing, and that's end-stage renal disease. And for 2021, that's even going away. So
Wow.
there's really no pre-existing at all.
Well, that's actually a good thing in my opinion, because we can't help what's pre-existing people. It's like, well, we're
Right.
shopping around, but you have this or you have that. Okay, so what is a hospital addendum plan?
So a hospital indemnity plan. So basically, with the Medicare Advantage plans, they're very simplistic. They're either an HMO or PPO plan, and they have pesky little copays, and they're usually pretty small. Doctor visits are $5, $10, but the biggest thing on a Advantage plan is these overnight hospital stays, and they can range around on average $300. So
Yeah.
if you have a hospital indemnity plan, that will actually cover that, which can be your biggest copays in a Medicare Advantage plan.
Gotcha. That's all. Again, likely going to happen as we get older and procedures are required, whatever. Even with this COVID, I mean, this really did affect people, what, 60, 65 and over. I mean, we're the higher people that are more apt to be hospitalized with this kind of situation. So that would be something I could see. Why don't you, but before I get too far in here, and I know you so long,
Yeah.
why don't you introduce yourself, Nathan, a little bit to our audience and tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do for a living?
Well, my name is Nathan Wright, and as mentioned, I'm with Medi65.com, and I am actually as Dr. Friday said, a licensed Medicare specialist. And basically what that means is I'm a broker. I don't have any one particular company that I work for. I actually work for you. So, and if you can think of the name of the company, I have them in my arsenal. So, and a little bit about me, I am a lifelong Tennessee resident and love Tennessee, and I don't think I'm going anywhere.
Perfect. I mean, that's what I love about you. And we had you on the show at least one other time I know of,
Yes.
once I finally convinced you to start using this. And I know that there's a lot of people that listen right now. So if you want to join the show and maybe you're in the middle and you're like, I don't really know, or maybe you handle your parents' medical information, because I have a lot of clients that help their parents a lot. And you can call the show even just with generic questions. And let me clarify, there are no stupid questions. Trust me, I don't even know any of this stuff really, because I haven't had to deal with it much right now. So if you ask something you think, oh my gosh, I should probably know this, it's going to sound stupid, don't worry. Nathan and I will not second guess you, because if you don't ask the questions, you're never going to get the answer. So give us the phone call. 615-737-9986 is the number here in studio. 615-737-9986. Taking your calls about insurance questions as well, of course, tax questions, people. It's a tax show, but I know that many of you come into my office and we talk things, and a lot of times you guys are asking me questions, and I am far from an expert at being able to, I'm always thinking, when you do one thing really, really well, there's so many things that's constantly changing. I'm sure in the insurance business, Nathan, as well as it is obviously in the world of taxes, it's impossible for one person to be, an expert at all kinds of different things. So I love the fact that you're joining me on my show, because I think a lot of listeners get confused, and I'm sure there's a lot of people, just counting, lack of a better thing, hounding these individuals saying, oh, this is the best program or this is the best program. But each person needs to be able to make that decision for themselves. Is there anything, and of course he sent me some questions, and I'm completely winging this, throwing this at Nathan, which is what I love to do apparently. But is there anything that they should be considering if they're getting, I don't know if insurance companies call, but there's a lot of ads and things. So they get on the phone with someone like you. Is there some specific questions or things they should know about themselves that would help you get the proper program for them?
Well, yeah, as mentioned before, first of all, whoever they're talking to, they need to make sure there's a licensed agent. That's number one. And then we've kind of already covered it. It really has to do with your individual situation because I say Medicare plans are kind of like shoes. They're not one size fits all. Who are your doctors? What are your prescriptions? Let's look at those things individually. So if they call a person like me, they would need to, have a list of, docs, have a list of medicines, and we can go over and review each step,
Now, would a husband and wife have can a husband and wife have different policies?
No, actually with Medicare, it's going to be a separate policy, but that doesn't mean they can't both be with the same company. And I have a lot of couples that choose to go with the same company.
Yeah. Well, it's I'm just thinking once they're kind of locked in, you kind of do that as couples. Okay. Are there plans for veterans?
Yes, there absolutely is. So a lot of veterans think, you know what, I've got TriStar for life or TRICARE for life, I should say. And they say, I don't need anything else. And in some cases that's true. But in other cases, they may want to look at others because just like Medicare plans, the TRICARE has different levels of coverage. So they may want to look at seeing if they need additional coverage.
That's what I was wondering too, because I know many of mine do have, obviously the veterans have, I think TRICARE is the proper TRICARE, yes. But so yes. It is in essence a version of Medicare, but they may still need the secondary to help fill those holes that maybe TRICARE doesn't provide for.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So if somebody is wanting to find out again, the website is at www.medi65.com. Is that right?
That is correct. Like Medicare and 65 like you need Medicare when you turn 65.
Yeah. Well, in all honesty, if you don't take it at 65, I was told that you really don't have the ability. I mean, if you opt out of it, you are opt out forever. Did you know that?
No, that's actually not correct, and that's a good thing to bring up. Is if you've got credible coverage at work, you don't have to take Medicare. Now, you want to look at that very closely because a lot of insurance has very high deductibles, and in most cases, you've got a very small or no deductible with Medicare. So that's something you want to look at very close, and you also want to make sure that your coverage is as good as Medicare, and then you can keep your work insurance if you plan to keep working.
Gotcha. I did not know that because I thought that they that somewhere along the line there that they said that you had to do that or you'd be in trouble kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound like a good deal necessarily. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, well, because I mean, I have quite a few people, to be quite honest with you, that are still working after the age of 65.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, many of them are still in the workplace, and in those cases, they're still insured by the company, but it may not be a better plan is what you're saying as far as being able to, do that. All right. So why don't we take a quick break? If people want to join the show, you certainly can at 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986, taking your calls about questions you might have on insurance as well as taxes. We're going to be right back. We are back here live on radio. So if you have a question, remember taxes are due October 15th and we're almost through 2020. Therefore, if you've got questions, maybe you've sold something like a piece of property or you inherited something or you're just not positive which way to move forward. If you haven't filed taxes in a number of years, all you have to do is call the show if you've got questions, or you can go to my website, drfriday.com, set up a free tax evaluation and we can take it from there. If you want to join us here live on the radio, join Nathan Wright and myself, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986, taking your calls and also just asking a ton of questions that I think a lot of people would like to know if they're on Medicare and having to make this big change. So, Nathan, when we talk about this open enrollment, unlike myself, it's I'm not happy with my insurance. I can just go out, shop around, and change. I'm making a guess, since we're doing this, that they can't change their insurance only at certain times of the year.
In general, that's true. Now, there's a few exceptions. There's, if you've moved from one county to another, if you've applied for different types of subsidy benefits, that also will create an open enrollment. But in general, October 15th through December 7th is the time to make the change.
Gotcha. So how much does Part B cost the average person?
So for this year, for 2020, it is actually $144.60. And for 2021, it's to be determined. I'm hearing up to $153 or so.
So that's everybody that's in the program. I mean, basically, if you have Part B, you're paying that. And I do have clients that pay more because it is means tested, what I call means testing, meaning if you make more money,
correct,
they will actually charge you more. And usually the ones that are more shocked with that is someone that sells a piece of real estate, ends up making a large profit. And for the whole next year, they end up paying a higher percentage on their Medicare because it is based on your income. But the everyday normal person that's maybe in retirement, they're going to be paying at least $144.60 at this point, and going up to possibly. Now, there's nothing you can. Is there something you can do about that? I mean, that's kind of set, right?
In general, there isn't anything you can do about that unless there are certain income requirements where you actually can get the state to pay the Part B for you. So if you're under a certain income, and I've actually just uploaded a video onto my website that actually goes into the specifics of that, of the income amount.
I do want to invite people, because I have never visited his website until right this second. I get to have Nathan live when I get to deal with him. His website is actually really cool. And again, it's medi65.com. And he has all kinds of different, and I love videos because I think sometimes people, they get to meet you, but it's easier to explain something sometimes with a video than it is like on the radio, right? Because when you start getting into a lot of numbers and things, it's very hard to follow without people pulling out pens and papers and things like that. But one of the things on here you have, and I'm going to jump into, is what is the difference between Plan F and Plan G? I didn't even know we went that high in plans. See, I got to learn more.
My website is ever evolving. So
okay, maybe I shouldn't be using that, but anyways.
No. That's great. No, that's great because that is actually fixing to say the difference between a Plan G and a Plan N. But I'm glad we brought that up because the Plan F is actually phased out, and for this year you can only get a Plan G, a Plan N. So the quick differences is. Right. For both of them, you have to pay the Part B deductible. Mm-hmm. And for the Plan N, you also have to pay what's called a doctor excess charge. If a doctor decides to charge over what Medicare says that they can charge, you have to pay that, unfortunately. And you have to pay some small copays with a Plan N. And that's a Medicare supplement, so not to be confused with a Medicare Advantage plan. So there are two different routes. If a person is new to Medicare, that's actually the biggest question they want to ask themselves. Do I want a Medicare Advantage plan or a Medicare supplement plan? And I have made a video in detail on the website. So and that, like I said, is ever evolving. Questions. I love questions because I want to add those on there. Any questions I've not answered, I want to add those.
Well, yeah, because this is a really great resource for someone trying to figure out these, kind of really important questions. All right, Nathan, we have someone on the phone. His name is Lawrence. He's in Mount Juliet, and he has a question about Social Security and Medicare. Hey, Lawrence.
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I have my Social Security question is relatively simple. My Medicare more complex. The simple Social Security question is, my wife doesn't work outside of the home anymore. When she turns 62, will she be able to go ahead and start drawing her Social Security, and then we'll flip over to mine when I start drawing mine?
I do believe and this is something that I'm not a Social Security expert, and I don't believe Nathan is either, but if he knows the answer, he can certainly jump in. But it used to be where you can draw on one and then go to the other. I thought they stopped doing that. She can draw on hers. And I could be completely wrong, and I'll try to get you a better answer on that, Lawrence. But at least at this point, at 62, she can definitely draw on hers. Just keep in mind that if you're still working, 85% of whatever she draws is going to become taxable income unless you don't claim her at all and you file married filing separately, which, depending on your income, can or cannot be a good plan. But I will see while you ask Nathan the question on Medicare, I might just ping one of my friends that does Social Security. Nathan, you don't know the answer to that first before I go offside and find
I'm going to stay in my lane on that one.
Okay, you got it. So, yeah, like I said, we are all kind of little increments here. But on the first part, she'll definitely be able to. I just would make sure that either she have 12% or something come out in taxes on that Social Security, because we always think that we shouldn't have to pay tax twice on it. But welcome to the real world. Unless you guys are living solely off Social Security, there's going to be tax probably on that money, just as a preparation. But I'll see if I can find you a little bit better answer on that if it helps.
Okay, thanks. Now, the Medicare question, a little more complex. I'm 62 and I'm on a company plan.
Right.
Insurance for my wife, who is 3 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't take Medicare at 65, even though Medicare is a better deal, because I lose her company coverage.
I see. Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out because, right now I'm planning on working to 68 so I can keep her. And is there any alternative to that?
Yeah, there actually is. So, unfortunately, like you said, if you wanted to keep her and yourself on that, but you said Medicare is probably a better deal, which in a lot of cases it is. You can actually have her on a separate, open market or Affordable Care Act insurance. I don't know if you've looked into that, which that is a little bit out of my lane, but that is an option for her to go on an open market plan as well.
Okay, so that's basically it. Am I forced to go on Medicare if Medicare is a better plan?
You are not forced at all. They're going to actually, once you start drawing Social Security, they will send you Medicare A and B. You can decline B. But if you are still working, you don't have to go into Medicare as long as your coverage, you want to check with your HR department, as long as it's credible coverage, comparable to Medicare with prescription drugs and everything, then
right.
You don't have to go into Medicare.
Okay. It just sounded like you were saying if Medicare is a better deal, and I have a high deductible health plan, but it covers
a lot of
dental,
times.
vision.
Yes, a lot of times Medicare is going to be the better deal. Not in all cases,
Yeah.
but majority of the times it will be.
Okay.
And Lawrence, if you want to email Friday@drfriday.com, again, just like the day of the week, Friday@drfriday.com, I will have someone from Social Security answer that question. From what I'm seeing, I can't get anyone on, but from what I'm seeing, the answer is going to be exactly what you think. 62 until you go on to your Social Security, then she's able to get half of yours or whichever is higher.
Okay.
I'm assuming that your Social Security benefit is, she can't go on to half of yours till you're on it, is my understanding. But I can, if you want to email, I can get somebody that will know that answer definite versus my educated guess.
Okay. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, Nathan, we got a few more calls here. Why don't we go ahead and hit, I think we've got time. Let's hit Lee in Jolton. Hey, Lee.
Hello, how are you?
I am awesome. Thanks for calling. What you got a question
You're welcome. My question is on Medicare. I'm 64, going to be 65 next May, and they say you have to jump on this and make sure you have it in line before you turn 65. I think a sister-in-law of mine has like $100 penalty on hers for life because she didn't. And I know my sister was scrambling a couple of years ago to get hers done before that date. And I was just wondering if he could help with that.
Yeah, great question. That's awesome. Nathan, knock it out.
That is a wonderful question, and that's why I'm called Medi65.com, because that's my specialty. Yeah, you do want to try to get everything squared away. And I'm sorry, what month was your birthday?
It'll be in May.
In May. Okay, so we got plenty of time here. Actually, you can start 3 months before, and even
That's
6
what I
months
heard,
before. You can start doing some of the preliminary stuff. And when it comes to plans, give me a call, and I'll be glad to go over the specifics with plans and what have you.
Okay. Can you get me through the first part? Can you help me get through the first part also, or is that something I'm just on my own with?
I actually can't do the first part. The first part is actually handled through the Social Security Administration, so you need to contact them. And right now, what they're doing is you have to, because of what we're going through, you have to make appointments and go see them, or you can do it online, or you can call them.
Hey, Nathan, or can he go in, like, can he do something now way earlier and then have them just start it? So that way he's not waiting to the last minute to go in and see him. Is it something you can sign up for early and then just have effective date of your birthday?
Yes, it's going to be at least 6 months before.
Okay.
So I think we're about there.
He's getting close.
About there.
Getting pretty close.
I'm not planning on. I'm self-employed. I'm not planning on retiring till I'm 70.
Right.
So, but if I'm on, I'm on Obamacare right now, and so Medicare
Who knows
should
where
be
that's going to
more
be?
affordable than that. And I'll leave my wife on Obamacare for a couple more years till she gets to be eligible.
65. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Thanks for the call, Lee. I appreciate that very much. That was a great question.
Thanks for the answers. All right.
No worries.
Good.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. We have Rosie and Dale on the phone, but it'll take a few more minutes. So why don't we break just a little bit early if we can? And then when we come back, we'll have plenty of time to answer both of your calls. And if you want to join the show, 615-737-9986. We're going to be right back. Radio, and I have got the experts of experts, Nathan Wright. If you have questions about Medicare over 65, what you should and shouldn't have as far as coverage, then this is the show you want today. Okay, let's hit Rosie, who's been nice enough to hold through the break. Hey, Rosie.
Hey, Rosie.
I have a question for Nathan, but first, a couple of things for your callers that might help them through. I've been blessed with 5 sisters, so we're all in our 60s, so going through all this together. And so the first call, or the caller a couple calls ago about the file and suspend, about drawing half of the Social Security, that was kind of a loophole that I actually was going to use. But the person had to be 65. The only sister the last sister who could use it was born in 1951. My sister born in 1954 could not use it, and so I doubt they can use it, but they can still follow up with Social Security on that. And the caller, Lee, I think his name is, that just asked about filing Part A. I just did it for my husband. It's simple, easy, online. And also, he can actually set up an account now with Social Security, and I have great advice for so people don't become victims of identity theft, to set up an online Social Security account before a con artist does. And so because once you have a Social Security account, don't laugh, it's true. Because once you set it up, then somebody else can't set it up in your name. And so
Gotcha. Well,
Great
I
advice.
would say that's great advice. I actually
Yes.
have one. I'm not near that age yet, but I have one. I mean, you already set up your account, so that way someone can't go in and actually set it. I never even thought about it because I'm thinking there's that ad with that comedian that says someone actually filed under him way before him. So, I was just thinking about that, that is out there nowadays.
I set mine up for my husband in his 50s. So, yeah. And then my question for Nathan is, in your comparison, we're not, my husband's going to be 65 in November, but he's still working. So he's not ready for Part A or Part B right yet.
Right.
But when he is, both of us will be retired from the state. Me in 4 years, him whenever. Well, I'm already retired, actually. So I'll be drawing my retirement insurance. And so they have a supplemental through the state. It used to be called POMCO. I'm not real sure what it's called now.
I'm familiar with that, yeah.
Okay, so does your analysis include the state's plan?
So on my website, no, but I've done personal in-person analysis where we kind of look at POMCO and we look at other options as well. And I will tell you just from experience, if you have POMCO, at times it's the way to go and at times it's not. So it's really an individual decision on that.
Okay, that's what I was wondering because two of my retired friends had over 30 years, and so their premiums are reasonable, but I don't have 30 years, and my husband won't have 30 years, well, unless he, works forever. So I didn't know. We'll have to pay a higher portion of our premiums. So I didn't know if it was worth looking into for different.
It's definitely worth looking at your options when that comes because there's so many things now that cover a lot of extra benefits. It's evolving every year, so it's definitely worth looking into.
Okay, and are you a fiduciary as far as do you sell products that benefit you, or do you sell products that benefit the consumer?
So basically, the way I do things is from your perspective. Now, of course, we get paid by the company, but it doesn't matter to me which company you go with. I actually will sit down with you, and if it's something like POMCO that's the best, and it doesn't benefit me at all, I will sit down. My consultation is absolutely free of charge, so I'll sit down with you, show you your options, and we can see which one works better for you.
Okay, so you're not swayed by like one insurance company over the other because
absolutely
of
not. No, in fact, the crazy thing is they pay, every one of us pays the same, so we really don't have any dog in the fight. It's really what's going to be better for you.
That's good because it doesn't sway your decisions then, or your advice then.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. And that's a great question.
Okay, great. Okay, well, thank you so much for your help.
Thank you, Rosie.
You're welcome.
All right. And we have one more on hold here, and Dale has been holding through. Dale, are you still there?
Yes.
Thank you for holding. Hey, Dale, what can we do for you?
Yes. I am wondering, is there anyone that pays on your insurance for your higher-end medications when they get $1,000 and above $1,000? They're never there. No payment. No portion payment, nothing.
Now, I'm sorry. Can you?
He's saying
clarify?
He's got specific type of medications that are costing a lot of money. It sounds like, and he's not getting any kind of discounts or help. Am I right, sir?
Right. No discount.
Okay. And are you currently on a Medicare plan?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So that is something that I would love to look at each one individually. There may be a better plan for you than the one you're on, and I can plug everything into the computer and we can look at them one by one and see which one which company may be better for you. If the actual company, there are some rare things out there, and there's actually some help out there. There's some governmental assistant help, and there's also some pharmaceutical discount programs that we can look at as well. So we can kind of look at a full spectrum of things on an individual basis.
Okay, I appreciate
and Dale, while you're listening,
Yes.
or anyone listening, if you guys want to reach Nathan, his direct phone number would be 615-823-1322. 615-823-1322. I'll put it out a few more times in case people are driving. And if you can't, you guys can always go to my website, email me, and I would be more than glad to forward you his information, because I know a lot of times people are listening, but we're not actually having something where we can write down. We're on the radio. Hello. But thank you very much, guys, for calling and joining the show, because those were great questions. And I want to go back to one that I think it was Lee brought up, but it's something about the penalty. What was this penalty I didn't hear about before? What's this? Do you know what he's talking about? So for lifetime, for the rest of my life, because I made a mistake?
Unfortunately, yeah, that's why I was talking about so much about the credible coverage. You want to make sure if you decide not to take Medicare when you turn 65, that you're on credible coverage. And there's the Part D penalty. If you wait, and you will actually be paying a monthly penalty if you don't take Medicare at the right time. So it's important to get this right.
Okay, so yeah, anyone listening that is close to the age of 65, let's start prepping this, all right? And then, so you basically have to make this decision on or before your 65th birthday. Is that what I'm hearing? Or you have a little window?
Correct. Yeah, it's actually a lot of folks start shopping 6 months before. It's actually 3 months before you can actually apply.
Okay. So you have 90 days before your birthday, but you can't wait till after your birthday. It has to be before the birthday.
You've got 90 days after your birthday month. So,
okay. So you got 90 days before, kind of
3 months
4 months after. But somewhere there, you do need to make sure it's just one of those dates that you do not want to forget, apparently, because they take it pretty darn seriously. All right, we only have a few seconds here, but I wanted to ask you before we take the last break. We still have time. And if you want to join the show, guys, you can at 615-737-9986. Can you help people that are not in the state of Tennessee?
Absolutely. Great question. I'm actually licensed in 9 different states. So if you're listening or you have someone you know in another state, I'd be glad to help them.
Perfect, because this is something that happens to every one of us, no matter where we're living, and getting somebody that's in our corner is an important thing. All right, why don't we take another quick break, then we can come back to the phone lines, or I have a couple more questions here I want to ask Nathan. But if you want to join the show, you can. 615-737-9986. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Alrighty, we are back live here in studio with Mr. Nathan Wright, Medicare specialist, good friend. And if you guys would like to reach him, I try not to put the phone numbers out too fast, because then people get confused who they're calling. So if you want to reach Nathan direct, 100% to him, 615-823-1322. Again, 823-1322 is his direct number, and he will be able to take calls as soon as he's off the show. Can't answer the phone while he's still here with me. And if you want to join the radio show, you can. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. If you've got a question and it's just burning in you and you're like, oh, I really want to know something, whatever that might be, we are here to help you. And we're going to go right to the phones, because we have Russ on the line about Medicare B. Hey, Russ, what's happening?
Well, I have a question about Medicare Part B, because if you look at the Social Security Medicare literature, it says it is optional. So my question is, under what circumstances is it optional? Is it only when you have an alternative to Part B? And it also seems if you don't take Medicare Part B, then you do pay that monthly whenever you do sign up for it, you would pay that monthly penalty. Is that correct?
So you don't have to take Medicare Part B. I do strongly encourage you to take Part B, but that's your personal decision on that. There is no penalty for not taking Part B, but of course, as you said, it would be advisable to have something in place that would take care of your health insurance. Because if you just have Part A, you're just going to have the hospital portion. You will not have the doctor portion of Medicare.
Right, I understand that. I thought somewhere I read that you did, if you elected at some later point to take Part B, there was a penalty, in essence, the lifetime penalty. But I'll go back and try to read that.
Is that the one that they were talking about, Nathan? Is that one we talked about a little earlier, where the sister or whatever was paying $100 a month for life because she didn't claim it on time?
Right. And there's even Part D. If you don't take your Part D, even if you don't take B, you need to get a Part D prescription drug plan, because you also get penalties as well if you don't take a Part D. So you can technically take A and D and opt out of B. And if you decide to get back on it later, then you would be penalized.
Right.
A lot of moving parts with Medicare. For sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but Part B, as in boy, you would be penalized if you delay taking that. Right, and the final question is, the typical Advantage plans, do they include Part B, boy, or not?
So, yes, Advantage has to cover everything that A and B does and more. So, in fact, your Advantage plan has in many cases, the D built in as well. So and the Medicare Advantage plan is actually Part C of Medicare. So if you've got a Medicare Advantage plan, you actually have A, B, C, and D all in one.
If you had an Advantage plan, you could opt out of Part B, is what I think you're saying.
No, actually you can't. You have to have Part B to get an Advantage plan. So you can't opt out. So that's one of the qualifications for an Advantage plan, is to have Part B.
All right.
And there,
okay.
now that
all right.
We'll also bring up, this is a good time to bring up something very interesting. I can't tell you the specific companies over the air, but there's also companies that have what's called a Part B buyback. And there's one I'm thinking of specifically that has a $50 Part B. So basically what they do is they pay part of your Part B on the Advantage plan.
And that's probably your total income limits that payback, doesn't it?
I would think so.
Well, the Part B payback with the Advantage plan is not income based. Anyone can get that. Now there's separate income based programs with the state, and if you want to call me, I can go over that individually with you. But actually, the state can actually pay your Part B if you're below a certain income.
Right. Well, I think I'm above that income, so I won't call you for that question.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Russ. I appreciate that question. We've got one more person on hold where I'll try to hit if we can. We've got Donna that's been holding for a while. Donna, you still with us?
Yes, I am.
Thank you for holding. What's happening?
I have a couple of questions for Nathan, please.
Sure.
Perfect.
Okay, number one, if I elected whenever I turned 65 to do the Advantage, will I ever be able, if I so desire to switch to a different plan, like a K plan or the G plan, and go back to Medicare with that plan? That's number one. And number two, if you have a company that uses Aon to help you with your decisions, would Nathan be able to help me with that, or what? And I'm afraid my battery's going to die, so I'm going to let y'all take over and I'll listen.
Perfect. Go for it, Nathan. Answer.
Okay, so the first question is as far as she's talking about a supplement, a Plan K, Plan N, Plan G. We talked about those earlier. If you elect to go on an Advantage plan, if you go back to a supplement plan, you have to go through what's called health underwriting, and you may or may not be qualified, except under certain circumstances, there's actually what's called a trial right that gives you a full 12 months to, try out a Advantage plan and go back to a supplement plan. So that's the only circumstances that you can go back. Otherwise, getting back into a supplement plan, you have to go through health underwriting. But when you turn 65, if you choose the supplement plan route, there is no health underwriting. It's open enrollment, and you can get right on a supplement plan without health underwriting.
So she asked the second question, something to do with
if you don't mind, clarify that for me, please, Dr. Friday.
I'm not sure if I did. It sounded like she had some sort of possible extra insurance. And, we're down to the last minute. So at this moment, Nathan, I'm going to leave the phone number for Nathan, 615-823-1322. Also, check out his website, www.medi65.com. Again, medi65.com, or call him direct, 615-823-1322 is how you're going to get a hold of him. Nathan, thank you so much for joining. The time flies when we have these kinds of conversations. And I knew that there's a lot of people out there that are wanting to know the answers to this, and it's kind of a confusing thing. So if nothing else, your initial consultation with Nathan is free. So there is absolutely no harm in calling, making comparisons while you have the availability to do that. And you can do that again by calling him at 615-823-1322. All right. Nathan, thank you. And then if you want to reach me,
Dr. Friday.
No problem. You can reach me at 615-367-0819, 615-367-0819. My office is open on Monday. You can also check us out on the web at drfriday.com. Pretty easy, drfriday.com. Or if you've got questions or you need to still have your taxes filed, again, go to drfriday.com, click on an appointment, or email friday@drfriday.com, friday@drfriday.com. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Call you later.